Now to finish this, we're going to write the equation given 2 points. So I give you guys 2 points. Now, yesterday, I was giving you guys 1 point and the slope. So we need to find out what's the slope. First of all, for the equation of the line, I need to find out what's my slope. Now remember the formula. I remember a formula that I gave you guys before. For the slope, it was the second y minus the first y over the second x minus the first x. Looking at my points here, I can label them x1, y1, which is basically the x of the first point, the y of the first point, and then x2, y2, which means the x of the second point, the y of the second point. So I'm going to find out what's the slope. Okay, that's the first thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to go -1 minus 2. Let me emphasize that there's a minus on top and the bottom, right? Y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So, and then at the bottom, I have 0 minus a -2, right? x2 minus x1. Be very careful with your signs, okay? So when I take a look on the top, -1 minus 2 is a -3. When I take a look at the bottom, there's 2 negative signs. I know when there's 2 negative signs put together, that becomes a plus sign. So 0 plus 2 is 2. If there's just one negative sign, I bring it to the front of my fraction. So my slope is -3 over 2. If you can simplify your numbers, by all means, do so. But in this case, we cannot. Okay, so now I know yesterday it was easy when we had a point, so 1 point, and the slope. And that's pretty much what I'm going to do now. I'm going to choose 1 point. So just to choose one, I'm going to choose this and the slope. Let me remind you guys of the formula we used yesterday. I'm going to write it here at the side. Y minus y1 is equal to m, and then x minus x1. So I'm going to do y minus 2, right? Y minus the y value. I know in the formula it says x1, y1, but it doesn't have to be the first point. It could be the second point if you wish. Okay, so y minus 2 is equal to, and then -3 over 2, and inside parentheses, I'm going to write x minus a -2. I'm going to put a sign in the plus sign in the center because 2 negative signs make a plus sign. Let me get rid of parentheses. So I have y minus 2 is equal to -3/2 x. Okay, now here, negative times a positive, I know is negative. 3 over 2 times 2. Let me do this at the side here. 3 over 2 times 2 or 1, because I make the 2 as a fraction. These 2's cancel out. So I get 3 over 1, which is better known as just 3. So I have y minus 2 is equal to -3 over 2x minus 3. Now to finish this minus 2 with the y, I'm going to move it to the other side as a plus 2. Don't forget to switch the signs. So I get y is equal to -3 over 2x minus 1. Right, at the very end, -3 plus 2, that's -1. All right, let's do it again. First thing is I find the slope. So I'm going to label this as my x of my first point, my y of the first point, my x of the second point, my y of the second point. And I know for my slope, I'm going to do it here at the side. I have to go the second y minus the first y. So -3 minus 3. And then at the bottom, the second x minus the first x. So that gives me -6 on the top, right? -3 minus 3 is -6. And at the bottom, I have -6 as well. Now, two negative signs make a positive sign, and 6 divided by 6 is 1. Okay, so my slope is 1. Good. So I'm going to use a point. I'm going to choose this point and slope. I already have my slope is 1. So I'm just going to do y minus 3, right? Y minus the y value. It's equal to 1 because that's the slope. And then inside parentheses, I have x minus 4. First, I get rid of parentheses. So I'm going to get y minus 3. Now, 1 times x and 1 times 4 doesn't do anything. So I get x minus 4. And to finish this, the minus 3, I'm going to move it to the other side. Don't forget to switch the side. So I get that y is equal to 1x minus 1. Nice. Recalled that I'm using, these formulas. The first formula is to find the slope, and the second formula is to find the equation, okay? So when I said I'm using the formula, that's what I mean. Okay, so first, let me find out the slope. So I'm going to label this as x of the first point, y of the first point, x of the second point, y of the second point. And then for my slope, I'm going to write the second y minus the first y over the second x minus the first x. So I know on the top, two negative signs make a plus sign. So 1 plus 3 is 4. At the bottom, two negative signs make a plus sign. 0 plus 2 is 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my slope is 2. Now, let me choose this point in the slope. Now, it doesn't have to be the first point. I just said a point. Remember earlier I said choose a point, and I'm going to say when there's a 0, it's nice to choose that point. In question number 23, I could have chosen a point with a 0. I'm going to say it's easy to choose a 0 because when you multiply by 0, cancels out. So, okay, so let me use my second formula to find the equation of the line. I'm going to get y minus 1. So y minus the y value equals the slope, and then inside parentheses, x minus the x value. It's nice when we multiply by 0, right? It's easy to multiply by 0. So that gives me y minus 1. I'm going to get rid of parentheses. Let me distribute the 2. So 2 times x is 2x. And then 2 times 0, we can write a plus 0, but it really does nothing. So I'm not going to write it, because plus 0, it's irrelevant. Okay, so I got rid of parentheses. Now to get the y by itself, this minus 1, let me move it to the end as a plus 1. Let me move it to the other side. Don't forget to switch the sign. So I get y is equal to 2x plus 1. Easy. One last example. Let's take a look. Let me find the slope. I know it's the second y, so I have x1, y1, x2, y2. So I know it's the second y minus the first y. At the bottom is the second x minus the first x. So on the top, 3 minus 2 is 1. 0 minus 3 is a negative 3. When there's one negative sign, I bring it to the front. So my slope is a negative 1 over 3. I bring the negative to the front, okay? Now that I have the slope, I'm going to write the equation of the line. So I'm using the slope, and I want to use this point. Like I said, I like it when there's a 0. It's easy to work with. So I'm just going to write y minus 3, right? Y minus the y value. The slope is a negative 1/3, and inside parentheses, x minus 0. So on the left side, I have y minus 3. I'm getting rid of parentheses. Negative 1/3 times x, the negative 1/3 x. Negative 1/3 times 0, it's 0, so I'm just not going to worry about it. And then to finish this minus 3, let me move it to the other side as a plus 3. So I get y is equal to negative 1/3 x plus 3. Beautiful.